solución para tu malestar, es el remedio que puede sanar, el bello tesoro que puedes hallar. Camina al lado de Jesús, le da sabor a tu amargo vivir, es la razón de poder sonreír, con él tú puedes ser feliz. Camina al lado de Jesús, es puerto seguro para descansar. Es el buen pastor que da seguridad. Siempre es tu amigo fiel, es manantial para tu ser. No hay nada que temer si vas al lado de Jesús. Él cambiará tu actitud, Él es vida
De mañana lo primero eres tú y con gozo te observaré.
Y fielmente sé que cumpliré con la parte que debo hacer. Mi vida en tus manos está, mi cuerpo es tu templo, tu hogar, y en mi conciencia pureza encontrarás, esa que solo tú das. Yo soy cortés y obediente a tu palabra, y con reverencia te adoro hoy. Esta es mi canción para ti, Dios, la conservo en mi corazón. Oh, me conquistaste primero el alma, y conquistando contigo estoy, yendo donde tú quieras ir. Este mundo debe sentir que esta es la generación que a Dios verá venir.
De mañana lo primero eres tú y con gozo te observaré.
Y fielmente sé que cumpliré con la parte que debo hacer. Mi vida en tus manos está, mi cuerpo es tu templo, tu hogar, y en mi conciencia pureza encontrarás, esa que solo tú das. Yo soy cortés y obediente a tu palabra, y con reverencia te adoro hoy. Esa es mi canción para ti, Dios, la conservo en mi corazón. Oh, me conquistaste primero el alma, y hoy conquistando contigo estoy, yendo a donde tú quieras ir. Este mundo debe sentir que esta es la generación que a Dios verá venir. Tu amor nos une y nos reúne.
Yo prometo serle siempre.
Pathfinders, adventurers, attention! Forward, march! Ready? Halt. Si la congregación se puede poner de pie para recibir las banderas. Color guards, attention. Ready the colors. Color guards, forward, march. Ready? Halt. Vamos a hacer decir el voto de la bandera americana. Pledge to the American flag. Present arms. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order, arms.
Buenas tardes a todos. Les queremos dar una cordial bienvenida a cada uno de ustedes. Espero que estén muy bien. Recordemos que estamos en la casa de Dios, así que debemos guardar reverencia. Ahora, para el voto y la ley y el himno de los aventureros. Ok. Con la mano derecha sobre el corazón. Por amor a Jesús, siempre haré lo mejor. Ahora la ley. Jesús me ayudará a ser obediente, puro, leal, bondadoso, respetuoso, atento, útil, alegre, considerado y reverente. ¿Pueden bajar la mano? Vamos a cantar el himno de los aventureros ahora. Aventurero soy, doquiera que yo esté. Aventurero soy, que siendo en la fe a Jesús quiero ser fiel y cada día ser como Él. Aventurero soy. Amén.
Ahora vamos a decir el voto de los conquistadores, con la mano en el corazón. By the grace of God, I will be pure and kind and true. I will keep the Pathfinder law. I will be a servant of God and a friend to man. La ley. Keep the morning watch, do my honest part, care for my body, keep a level eye, be courteous and obedient, walk softly in the sanctuary, keep a song in my heart, and go on God's errands. Y ahora el himno de los conquistadores en español. Soy conquistador fuerte y fiel, un siervo de Dios yo soy. Fieles marcharemos sí, por la senda de verdad. Mensajes debemos que dar, verdad que libertará. Muy pronto el Señor Jesús vendrá por ti, por mí. Me gustaría pedirle a Miss Mabel, si podría tener una oración. Parade, rest. For attention.
Querido Padre Celestial, gracias por estar con nosotros en este lindo sábado que podemos reunir todos los aventureros y conquistadores, así para que podamos hacer más deberes de ti, Señor. Por favor, cuida acá de nosotros más que al campo de nosotros, y que siempre esté a nuestro lado en cada momento. Y aleja todo mal, todo cosa que nos distrae, toda cosa que nos va a hacer daño, que nos cuides y que nos proteges, aleja todo eso. Y también que los clubes sean un éxito cada tiempo, Señor, por favor. Siempre esté con nosotros, cuida a tus misioneros que están a todo alrededor del mundo, que siempre dan tu mensaje, por favor, cuida a todos en un nombre, amén.
Amén. Attention. Color guards, prepare to post colors. Ready, post. Color guards, honor your colors. Color guards, dismiss. At ease, se pueden sentar. Entonces, ¿está bien? ¿Ya? ¿Cómo? Okay. That's fine. So, yo sé que hicimos la bienvenida, pero le queremos dar otra bienvenida. So, gracias a todos ustedes por estar aquí. Gracias por el apoyo. Desafortunadamente no pudimos practicar esta semana por la cuestión del mal tiempo. So, bear with us. Okay. Me gustaría leer la lectura bíblica que va a ser en el libro de Juan, capítulo 14. Versículo 1 al 4. Juan capítulo 14, versículo 1 al 4. Y dice: no se turbe vuestro corazón. Creéis en Dios, creed también en mí. En la casa de mi Padre muchas moradas hay. Si así no fuera, yo os lo hubiera dicho. Voy pues a preparar lugar para vosotros. Y si me fuere y os preparare lugar, vendré otra vez. Y os tomaré así a mí mismo, para que donde yo estoy, vosotros también estéis. Y sabéis a dónde voy, y sabéis el camino. Que Dios bendiga su santa palabra. Antes de tener la palabra de Dios, vamos a tener dos himnos que vamos a cantar. La primera va a ser el himno número 609. 609, oh jóvenes, venid. Y si se pudieran poner de pies, por favor.
Oh jóvenes, venid, su brillante con Jesús alistados sin temor. Vamos a la lid inflamados de valor. Jóvenes, luchemos todos contra el mal, que en Jesús tenemos nuestro general. Oh jóvenes, venid, el caudillo salvador quiere recibiros en su derredor. Con él a la batalla salid sin vacilar. Vamos presto, compañeros, vamos a luchar. Vamos con Jesús alistados sin temor. Vamos a la lid inflamados de valor. Jóvenes, luchemos todos contra el mal, que en Jesús tenemos nuestro general. Las armas invencibles del jefe guiador son el Evangelio y su gran amor. Con ellos revestidos y llenos de poder, compañeros, acudamos, vamos a vencer. Vamos con Jesús alistados sin temor. Vamos a la lid inflamados de valor. Jóvenes, luchemos todos contra el mal, que en Jesús tenemos nuestro general. Quien venga a la pelea, su voz escuchará. Cristo la victoria le concederá. Salgamos, compañeros, luchemos bien por él. Con Jesús conquistaremos inmortal laurel. Vamos con Jesús alistados sin temor. Vamos a la lid inflamados de valor. Jóvenes, luchemos todos contra el mal, que en Jesús tenemos nuestro general.
El próximo himno va a ser el número 516, Firmes y Adelante. 516.
Sin temor alguno.
Se pueden sentar. Le quiero invitar ahora a Manny Ojeda. ¿Is that correct? Va a tener la palabra de Dios esta tarde. Me gustaría tener una oración por él. Oremos. Padre nuestro que estás en los cielos, santificado y alabado sea tu nombre, Señor. Gracias otra vez por este sábado hermoso que tú nos has dado, estar aquí en tu casa. Padre, perdónanos por nuestros pecados si te hemos fallado. Ayúdanos siempre a seguir tus caminos, Señor. Pero ahora también especialmente pedimos que estés con Manny, que va a tener tu palabra. Pedimos, Señor, que sea tu palabra, tu mensaje de esta tarde, que pueda tocar cada uno de nuestros corazones. Bendícelo a él, Señor, y bendice a cada uno de nosotros. Y todas estas cosas te las pedimos por Jesús. Amén. Sí. Amén.
Feliz sábado, familia. Aventureros, Adventures, happy Sabbath. Good to see you. Pathfinders, happy Sabbath. Conquistadores, good to see you guys. You guys look really nice. You look very good. You represent God's army very well. At least by your looks, I would imagine that your hearts are better than your uniform. Amen? Mira, ¿cuántos de ustedes les gustan las jornadas, the journeys, the adventures? I know I do. I love them. I love adventures. Do you know that you never know you're going to start an adventure until you do it? Tú sabes que tú nunca vas a empezar una jornada antes que tú estés en ella, involucrada en ella, ¿verdad? How many of you have ever been caving? Anybody ever been caving? ¿Verdad? En una cueva. Algunos de ustedes han estado adentro de la tierra en una cueva. Really? Oh, isn't it a great adventure? Caves are really cool. How many of you, cuántos de ustedes le encantan cuando hay muchas cosas alrededor de usted que se involucran en usted? How many of you guys ever like a bunch of stuff to be on top of you, like smothering you? No, neither do I. That's pretty scary. I don't like that at all. So, not too long ago, unos años atrás, unos de mis amigos me invitaron a mí a ir a una cueva. Not too long ago, some of my friends invited me to go on a cave. And I thought, well, how hard can it be? So they told me, okay, Manny, it's going to be a lot of fun, but in order for you to go caving with us, make sure you have good shoes, tener unos tenis, unos zapatos, ¿verdad? Que son cómodos, que tú no te importa a ti mojar y poner esos zapatos sucios, ¿verdad? So I got my oldest, most dependable shoes I could ever get, and I put them on. Then he said, get some pairs of pants that you don't mind getting wet and dirty. Check. Then he said, get a long sleeve shirt so you don't mind getting dirty and scraped and wet. I'm like, check. Then he said, you need a helmet. I'm like, why? Because the cave, you can hit your head. I'm like, good. So I got a helmet. Boof, I put the helmet on. Then he said, okay, your helmet needs a light. I'm like, why? There's no light underneath the ground? No, there's not. Totally dark. It's not like Disney World that someone went over there and put electricity, right? So, okay, so I got my helmet, I got my flashlight, and he said, you need to take some food because we're going to be in there for a very long time. Tú tienes que asegurar que tienes comida y agüita porque vamos a estar ahí por mucho tiempo. Perfecto, done. I got my food and my water. I got like my canteen, my Pathfinder canteen. Pathfinder goes a long way. And then, it was before I got married. I didn't know any better. I took 2 Snickers. It's like, come on, ¿tú te vas a llevar algo con gría a una cueva? Claro que no. So I took my Snickers. Not only 1 Snickers, but 2 Snickers. So I got the 1 Snicker and I put it in my pocket. I got the second Snicker. I only have 1 Snicker, sorry. And I put it in my other pocket. Actually, I put it in my pants pocket. So we got in the car and we drove out to the woods. And then we parked the car. And then we walked over to this place where there was this huge rock. It was actually the side of a hill. I'm like, where's the cave? He's like, follow us. So I was ready to go. Got my shoes, my pants, my shirt, my helmet, right? And my flashlight and my Snickers. And I went and we walked towards this place in the cave. And it was actually a bit of an opening, right? And I was thinking, if that's the cave, piece of cake. So we walked over to this huge opening in the rock, and we walked in, and the opening ran out. There was nothing. There was just a wall. I'm like, where's the cave? And my friend's like, you see that little hole right there? That's the cave. I'm like, where? No, right there. It was a little hole, I promise you, this big. this big, like big enough for our bodies to go in. I'm like, okay, I could do this. So the first guy went in, and now, but by the way, the first guy knew what he was doing. I can follow him anywhere. I felt good because the first guy, the leader, he knew about the cave. And he had told us, this cave, you're going to love it because there's a lot of places to go inside. You can get lost in there. There's even water that flows in. You can take the water. You can drink the water. It's pure. There's a cool waterfall. You're going to love it. And we're going to go in there, just hang out. The temperature goes, and it was like 90 degrees outside. It goes from 90 degrees to 70 degrees. I was like, this is really cool. Let's go. Until I saw the small hole. I'm like, I don't know. He said, come on, follow me. So he went. Then the other guy went. I'm like, you know what? I'll go at the back. I'll make sure there's nobody out here. I'll go at the back. I was really afraid. But I did it. So I went to the hole. And as soon as I went into the hole, I started just to get on my hands and knees. And I felt like the whole mountain was hugging me. And I didn't feel very comfortable I started to breathe. Oh my goodness, I'm so scared. But I did it. So I started crawling. And I'm like, are we going to get out of this small? Is it going to be the whole thing the whole way? It's like, no, just keep crawling. Don't worry. It's going to grow. We're going to get into a bigger cavern, and you'll be able to crawl on your knees. You may be able to walk. I'm like, this is awesome. I could do this. But first, we got to get past this because I don't like this big mountain hugging me. It made me feel so uncomfortable. What's that word? Claustrophobic? Claustrophobic, yeah. Okay, that's it. I felt like the mountain was giving me claustrophobia. It felt horrible, but I did it. So I followed the guy in front of me, and I was thinking, man, I'm going to eat that Snickers. Can't wait for lunch. At least caving's going to make me feel better because I'm going to eat my Snickers, all right? So we went into the cave, and we got to a place where, you got the entrance, and then you have all these passages going everywhere, right? All these passages going everywhere. And so we exited that entrance and all these passages going everywhere. And our leader's like, hey, listen, guys, remember where we're going and where we're coming from. We don't want to get lost. So we kept walking. It was awesome. We went to places in this cave where you can hear the water falling. You can drink the water. We can just chill. And I started to feel comfortable. I started to feel really good being in this cave. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still like my apartment and my nice, comfortable room, and I had a window in my apartment back then. I could open my window, and I lived up north, and it felt good when I opened it at night because the cool air came in. The cave wasn't my house, but I was starting to get used to the cave. I was cool with it. And then, we were in there for so many hours. You're just having so much fun. Time flies when you're having fun. Like, when you're doing something that you like, or maybe even something that you shouldn't like, time goes like that. Have you guys ever borrowed your parents' phone and you start on your parents' phone and you're there for a very long time? It's like an hour later and your mom's like, what have you been doing this whole hour? And you feel embarrassed because you're just wasting time on that video game, right? That's how I was in the cave. We were in the cave for such a long time that it was lunchtime. So I'm like, I'm hungry. I'm going to eat my Snickers. So I took my Snickers out. There it is. So I took my Snickers out, I cracked the thing, and I ate it. And I felt so good that I was eating my Snickers. It was lunchtime. And remember, I only brought one Snickers. I wasn't married yet. I didn't have a wife to tell me how to eat. So I'm like, I'm still hungry. Where's my other Snickers? And I looked, and I looked, and I was missing. I lost my Snickers. I'm like, oh, man. By that time, lunch was over. We kept moving. But, I noticed something. I was comfortable in the cave. I was cool with a cave. I even thought about it. Maybe I can just live in the cave. But was that really my home? No, of course not. What does Jesus say is really our home? You know what? You're right. It's heaven. Actually, can I read it for you? Do you know that Jesus loved to be with his friends and disciples? And they went to so many different places together. You can say that Jesus was like the guy that was leading me into the cave. I had never been to the cave before, but I knew, and I was comfortable, and I was safe because I was following that guy. He probably had a map in his brain about everywhere where the cave went, but if I didn't go with him, I'd get lost. You know what happened in Indonesia? It was Indonesia a couple years ago with these Boy Scouts. I think it was a soccer team. Yes. Thank you. The soccer team, they went caving. I think they were celebrating a win. Perdón. And so they went to a cave. And, it rains a lot over there. And they didn't realize that it was raining a lot outside. And the rain was so bad that it started to come into the cave. And it trapped them in the cave for many, many days. Navy SEALs had to come in and get them. People from other countries had to come in and get them. The leader sort of messed up. But Jesus is not that kind of leader. Jesus, he takes us to so many different places. And he says, you got to trust me. Look what he says in John chapter 14, our scripture reading. In John chapter 14, verse 1. I'm going to read it. Ready? He says, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. And look what he says. In my Father's house are many mansions. He says, look, if it wasn't so, I would have told you. And guess what Jesus is doing? He says, I go to prepare a place for you. You know why he was saying that? Because his disciples were really scared. Jesus had just told them, guys, I'm not going to be with you very long. Do you remember the first time your parents took you to school? They're like, man, school's going to be so fun. You're going to learn so many really cool things. Lunch is awesome. You're going to meet some really great friends. And they took you to the class, and you're like, wow, this class is awesome. Wow, look how the teacher decorated. And all of a sudden, your mom and dad are walking away, and you're like, wait a minute, where are you going? No, boy, slow down. Where are you going? And they get in the car, and they go, and you start crying. Dude, in first grade, I couldn't stop crying. And they took me home. I had to come back the next day. Don't worry. I lost. Okay, I lost. But I didn't want to go anywhere without my mom and dad. And Jesus says, in my Father's house are many places. By the way, he said that because the disciples were really afraid. Jesus had just told them that he was going to die and he wasn't going to be with them anymore. And they were going crazy. You know why? They loved to be with Jesus. They depended on Jesus. They always loved to talk to Jesus. They always loved to hear what Jesus had to say. They always loved to see what Jesus did. And they got used to Jesus. And when Jesus told them, guys, I'm not going to be with you very much longer, they're like, what? They got scared. And that's where he had to tell them, God, listen, I'm going to my Father's house. In my Father's house, there's this great mansion. And I'm going to go to prepare a place for you. Then he told them, I'm going to come back. So you know what? You guys ever heard of the disciple Thomas? What's his nickname? Doubting Thomas. Doubting Thomas is like, oh, really? After 2.5 years, after 3 years, now you're leaving? Come on. Thomas is probably like, okay, you leave, I'm gone, Jesus. Jesus, you're no longer here? Forget it, I'm out. Jesus is like, wait a minute, Thomas. Look what he said in the Bible. Can I keep reading it? Because Jesus says, Thomas, I'm going to go. I'm going to get a place ready for you, but I'm going to come back. And Thomas is like, but wait a minute. How do we go there? Look what he says, John chapter 14 and verse 4. I'm going to keep reading. He says, and where I go, you know the way, you know. And verse 5, Thomas says, ready? He says to him, Lord, we don't know where you're going. And how can we know the way? Jesus said to him, Thomas, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Stop. Thomas is like, I'm so afraid, Jesus. I don't even know where you're going. Dude, how can we go to heaven? How can we go? Come on, Jesus. Thomas figured out that Jesus was the Son of God. Thomas figured out that he was a Messiah, guys. And Jesus is like, don't worry, I'm going to bring you back. And Thomas is like, how? I don't get it. You know what Jesus said? I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to God but through me, Jesus said. You know what that means? Listen, you and I are on a great journey. Nosotros estamos en una jornada. As young people, we're on a great journey. You know where the journey is? We're living in this cave called Earth. This Earth is a cave. Like the cave that I went to, this cave has a lot of different passages and caverns and rooms that seem really awesome. A few weeks back, I went to Austin, and on Sabbath, we went to this really cool cave in Austin, Texas, right? Really deep cave. And you saw all these stalactites and stalagmites that were made out of crystal. Beautiful things. But dude, I don't want to live in a cave. Este mundo es una cueva. This world is a cave, and it has a lot of really cool rooms, but this world isn't our home. But you're probably thinking, what kind of cool rooms were there in there? Well, maybe you can find a room with gold. Este mundo te da a ti tanta oportunidad para vivir en el mundo, pero Cristo no quiere que nosotros vivamos aquí. There's a lot of rooms here that Jesus says, don't get stuck there, keep moving. You're like, what kind of rooms, Manny? You may have friends that are bad influence. Maybe you like to hang out with them for a little bit and they make you feel good. They make you laugh. They make you feel like you're somebody. They make you feel belonged, whatever it is. But that's a room in that cave. You may have somebody that says, man, you're so pretty. Hey, dude, you got some muscles, man. You're such a handsome guy. Look how tall you are. I love your hair. And they make you feel so good about your body. But that's a room in the cave, because you know what they do with that, right? They could destroy and steal your purity. That's a cave. That's a room in that cave. And you can get lost in there. Guys, we can think like, I belong here. But Jesus says, no. I am in my Father's house. I will be back. And Thomas is like, but how do you come back? Jesus says, I am the way. What do you say? I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Look at verse 7. I'm going to keep reading. If you had known me, you would have known my Father also. And from now on, you know him and you have seen him. Then Philip himself said to other disciples, Lord, show us the Father, and it is enough for me. And Jesus says, dude, my version doesn't say that. But he says, come on. Have I not been with you so long? And have you not known me, Philip? He who has seen the Father has seen, he who has seen me has seen the Father. So how can you say, show us the Father? Do you not believe that I am in the Father and the Father is in me? And the words that I speak to you, I do not speak on my own authority, but but the Father who dwells in me, he does the works. Believe me that I am in the Father and the Father in me, or else believe me for the sake of the works themselves. And by the way, they kept talking. And because the disciples wanted to know, how do we go to heaven? It's a good question, isn't it? How do I get out of the cave? I know some of you are addicted to your devices. I know it. I fight with my kids all the time. It's an addiction. I know that you sneak it from your parents every once in a while. I know that you go to school and you do things that your parents couldn't even imagine that you're doing. I know it because my kids do it. And I pray, I'm always on my knees, Lord, give me wisdom to care of my kids. Hermanos y hermanas, sabemos que nuestros niños están en situaciones, ambientes que tenemos que estar en